Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In today's video, we've got two stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user throwaway764127. Am I the a-hole for bailing on anniversary plans with my boyfriend last minute for a friend's emergency? My boyfriend, 21 male, and I, 20 female, had fancy dinner plans and tickets to the movies to celebrate our first anniversary. We were both super excited about it and had planned it a while ago. However, about an hour before our reservation, I got a message from my close friend. He texted me saying he was having a family emergency and he really needed some support, someone to talk to right now, and asked me to come over. I've been friends with this person for years, and I've always been there to support him and cheer him up as he has some family and home issues. So, I called my boyfriend, who was driving back from work, to tell him we'd have to cancel because I had to be there for my friend, and he got mad even though I told him it was out of my hands. I then hung up because I didn't want him to carry on driving and being on a call, especially if he was angry, and said I'll speak to him later. Cut to me coming home a few hours later and he was pissed. We then got into an argument and he said that I prioritized another guy over him and that my friend was a grown man who could have waited until the next morning to have me come over. He also got more mad when I couldn't tell him what the emergency was that ruined what was meant to be a special day, even though that's my friend's personal information and it's not my business to share. I felt that it was very insensitive of him not to understand why I had to go and be there for a good friend of mine. And yeah, we lost a bit of money for tickets, but we can just reschedule. But I can see why he's frustrated as it's our first anniversary and he had planned it a while ago. Plus, I got angry at him for being insensitive, which only heated the argument and made it worse. It's been a few days since the fight and he's still being frosty to me, waiting for me to apologize. One of my friends said that it was a bit of an a-hole move for me to cancel anniversary plans last minute with my boyfriend for a friend and then get mad at him for being mad about it. I felt like I had to prioritize my friend at that moment and that my boyfriend overreacted. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure if I handled it right. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP, in my opinion, yes, you are the a-hole because you did prioritize another guy instead of your boyfriend. Now, a case could be made if your friend was having some sort of weird emergency that you were the only person in this planet that could have helped him through it, but I'm guessing that's not what happened. Why did it have to be immediate? Also, the fact that you said it was out of your hands? No, it wasn't out of your hands. You made a choice. You voluntarily chose to go support your friend, hold his hand, whatever it is that you had to do instead of going to celebrate your anniversary with your boyfriend. Stop trying to avoid responsibility. You weren't forced into going. Your friend sent you a message saying he needed support, someone to talk to right now. Couldn't have it waited till later? Like, it was that much of a huge issue that needed to be talked through. So yeah, OP, you effed up. You are the a-hole. So I think you owe your boyfriend an apology and you need to start rethinking your priorities, your relationship versus this friendship. Also, I don't know if your friend knew about your anniversary dinner, but I find it quite sketchy that he called you about an hour before and had this emergency that you just needed to come and help him with. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Fragrant Economist 386 says, "You're the a-hole. It absolutely was not out of your hands. You chose to go talk to that other guy any other time than your anniversary. Are you sure there is nothing more going on with that other guy? I wouldn't blame your boyfriend for thinking there was. You could always have said that you would come and comfort your old friend the next day, but that you unfortunately had other plans for the evening. But I guess you have your priorities in order?" Littlefeet 1999 says, "Look, I understand the need to be there for a friend, but how can you be so blind to not understand how this looks? You did prioritize another guy over him. Don't pretend otherwise. Does your friend not have others to confide in? It was in your hands, and you were the one who canceled your anniversary for your friend. You could have gone over later or the next day. You're the a-hole, plain and simple. And Rich Signal 7022 says, had a child in your friend's family gone missing? Was someone in hospital? Had someone died? If your friend feeling down and needing to be cheered up is what you consider a family emergency, then you are the a-hole. If he has a problem with alcohol, then he needs professional help, not you mollycoddling him. You've just shown your boyfriend that you will jump when your friend calls no matter what. I doubt your current or any future boyfriends will put up with that for long, particularly if you blow them off for your friend's non-emergencies. Additional information from OP's comments. My friend's problem really couldn't wait. He had a big argument with his dad, and without going into lots of details, my friend struggled with alcohol problems, so I went over to help smooth things over and give him someone to talk to and distract him as he was very upset. When my friend asks for emergency support, I don't ask questions, I go. How could have I enjoyed my night knowing he was struggling anyway? It's not that my friend was more important to me, but at that moment, he was my priority because he was in a bad state. As I said, he's had a lot of problems in the past. It wasn't going to badly harm my boyfriend to not go on our anniversary dinner, but I probably should have been more understanding when he was saying he was upset. And I guess I didn't expect him to make this a big thing. Having said that, there's also an element of trust needed. Like, he should have trust that I needed to help a struggling friend out and know that it was important enough to cancel. I will apologize, and yes, my friend knew. I was excited about it, so I told all my friends. But I know my friend had no other intentions. He genuinely needed someone, and that's what friends are for. And if the situation were reversed, I wouldn't have minded. I mean, I would have been disappointed that he couldn't go, but not mad like he was. I trust him, and I believe supporting someone through tough spots is very important. Also, I can't force my friend to get help for his addiction. That's his own choice. I can only do what I can and support him. I don't know much about alcohol problems, but I'm doing what I can to help. I'm not sure why people are expecting me to be an expert on alcohol dependency. I was just doing what I thought would help him, which was to be there for him. But clearly, I needed to do some research into how I can help him more effectively. Alright, well, the community agreed that OP was the a-hole. She did prioritize the friend over her boyfriend, and in the comments she seemed to have very much defended her argument, which wasn't convincing at all. The best way she could support her friend, instead of being there every time he gets drunk, is to actually help him go to AA meetings, look for a sponsor, get him some professional help. And from the last bit of her context, apparently she kind of understood that. In any case, it's time to move on to the update to see how the story ends. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Now, let's move on with that update. After reading everyone's comments, I realized I was in the wrong and didn't prioritize correctly. I came off pretty defensive at first, but after thinking about what people said, I shouldn't have been. I apologized to my boyfriend and told him nothing like this would ever happen again. He's still pretty mad, but after a serious conversation about setting boundaries between me and this friend, he's willing to move past it. He did say if it happens again or I cross any boundaries with this friend, then he is gone. So it obviously did affect him more than I thought. I'm willing to respect this and try to consider my boyfriend's feelings more while still being there for my friend. I don't feel like my boyfriend is trying to control me because he hasn't forbidden me to meet my friend. The stuff my boyfriend said about boundaries, no evening meetups, less frequent one-on-one hangouts, etc. can be seen as controlling, but because of what happened, I understand. I haven't spoken to my friend particularly about the boundaries yet, so I'm not sure what he thinks. Also, I don't believe my friend had any malicious intent when he asked for my help, and I won't be cutting him off like some of you suggested. He didn't ruin my anniversary intentionally. We've been friends for years. I think with the right boundaries, we can work through this and prevent any misunderstandings. He said he was drunk and upset and he wasn't thinking straight. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I told my boyfriend that my friend struggles with alcohol issues, and I rushed over because I didn't know what state he was going to be in. I didn't go into much detail as I still believe that's not his business, but I did tell him. Obviously, when I got to his place, he was very upset, but it wasn't life and death, and in hindsight, it could have waited until the next morning. I'm not trying to make any excuses, I just thought some comments were a little harsh. I care for my boyfriend very much, and I'm happy we've got this resolved. The comments about my friend's alcoholism made me realize that I needed to give him the resources to help himself, which I will do if he's open to it. I've never had someone I cared about to deal with alcohol issues, and I was a bit naive to think I could help him without professionals. I spoke to my friend on the phone this morning, and even though he was very defensive, he agreed to meet with me to talk about the next steps for him to get help, like AA meetings, and if he chooses not to seek help or try to get better, then I take a step back from our friendship. He needs professional help, and I'm giving him the resources and where he can go, and if he doesn't take that step, then I've done all I can to help. So I'm going to meet my friend tomorrow to talk about the resources I found for him. His dad is threatening to kick him out of the house, so I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for him. So we're also going to talk about that. My boyfriend asked to come along with me, so if he has to say anything to my boyfriend, he can say it in front of me. Definitely a lesson learned. I hope my boyfriend can really let this go and be civil with my friend, as it will make everything a lot easier. I'm going to do what I can to make my boyfriend feel secure about my friendship with my friend though. We have rebooked our tickets and dinner for next weekend, and hopefully it can still be special. What I will say is the emergency message I got from my friend at the time didn't have much detail, so I didn't know how serious it was. That's for the update for some of you who were asking for one. Alright OP, I think you are taking a few steps in the right direction, but you're kinda still lacking in my opinion. The fact that you're worried about what your friend might think of the boundaries that your boyfriend has set, why? Why does he have an opinion on this? This is something just between you and your boyfriend. It's the relationship's boundaries. Your friend doesn't get to weigh in on them, at least I wouldn't think so. In any case, hopefully you guys can work through this properly. Take care OP and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user DreamUsed210. Am I the A-hole for insisting that my in-laws buy my daughter a new doll? This past Christmas, my mother got my daughter Amy, for female, a doll she had been asking for. It's a baby version of Mirabel from the Disney movie Encanto. It quickly became her favorite. My husband's cousin Nat has a daughter I'll call Julie, 6 female. I won't classify her as spoiled, but she does have a tendency to disobey other people. There have been numerous occasions in which I asked Julie to do something, please sit down, please don't touch that, etc., and she either ignored me or went behind my back to do the opposite. While I understand that she's a child, Nat rarely makes any attempt to educate her daughter or correct her behavior. Last week, Nat and Julie came to visit us with some other relatives. Julie saw the Mirabel doll and asked my daughter if she could play with her. Amy refused. Julie protested, but I spoke with the girls and managed to get them to play with other toys. Sometime later, the kids sat down to watch TV while the others and I got dinner ready. When we went back to the living room, Julie was gone. After a short search, we found her in my bathroom. She had taken not only the Mirabel doll, but also my nail polish carrying case. Julie had used my nail polish to paint the doll's hair, face, and dress. It covered most of her facial painting, matted her hair, and ruined her clothes. Amy saw what happened and was devastated. When we asked Julie what she was doing, she said she was giving the doll a makeover. Nat and Julie left in a hurry. The next day, I asked Nat what she planned to do about it. She suggested the girls apologize to each other, Julie for painting the doll, Amy for not sharing in the first place, and hug it out, and offered to give me a couple of new bottles of nail polish. I made it clear that Amy didn't need to apologize, and while I didn't care about the nail polish, they cost $4, and Julie didn't empty the bottles she used, I did expect Nat and her husband to replace the doll. Nat refused. She said that it wouldn't be fair for her to waste money over an innocent mistake a child had made. She also doesn't think Julie should be the only one apologizing, as none of this would have happened if Amy had agreed to share in the first place. I asked her twice. She said no both times. Finally, I called her husband and explained the situation. He apologized profusely and agreed to buy Amy a new doll. He stopped by on Saturday and gave it to us. He also brought Julie along and made her apologize to Amy. Apparently, Nat and her husband fought over this, as she kept insisting that Julie was just a child and they owed us nothing. So now, in addition to saying it was entitled to expect a new doll, she is blaming me for their fight. My husband is on my side, but my mother-in-law thinks I should apologize, as this has blown out of proportion and I could have dealt with it more gracefully. She also thinks it was wrong of Amy to refuse to share. Am I the a-hole? No, of course you're not the a-hole, OP. Nat is an a-hole for sure, and your mother-in-law is a meddling a-hole. Her opinion doesn't count. Also, private property is a thing, and that was Amy's most prized possession. If she didn't want to share that doll, she shouldn't have had to. You do what you did, which was to get them to play with other toys and share other things. There's a difference between just any other toy and the favorite toy, which the cousin ruined. So no, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. I think Nat is the one that owes you an apology. And Nat's husband did the right thing. Replace the toy and have the kid apologize. That's just good parenting, in my opinion. And what do you guys think? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Forgerist says, every sane person is on your side, so not the a-hole. At least spoiled girl's dad has some common sense running in him. I wonder why do people hang out with crap relatives and then complain about issues that they cause? I give everyone fair chance, and if they blow it, then they are gone out of my life, and I couldn't care less about them whining and complaining. Everyone gets what they deserve. And OP responds, mostly because they're not always crap people. Nat's husband has a daughter from a previous relationship who is good friends with my older son, and Amy and Julie get along well most of the time. Nat is also not a bad person unless it comes to Julie. Penalty Aggressive 810 says, oh my god, how infuriating. There is no reason your daughter should have to share her doll in the first place. Mother-in-law is way out of line for that. Your daughter shared her other toys. You know damn well that the other little girl did that to your daughter's doll deliberately out of spite. I'm angry at you for even considering for a moment that you're wrong in this. The other daughter's mother is so far out of line, it's insane. Not the a-hole, and for the love of God, never let those a-holes in your house again. And OP responds, I do think this was more of a not knowing how nail polish works situation than her trying to ruin the doll out of spite. Julie has been interested in makeovers for a while. She also asked us if we couldn't wash it off. Owls and Cardinal says, not the a-hole. Julie is a little terror. Nat should have been mortified that Julie would go into a private space to specifically seek out an item she's been told she cannot have. It was not an innocent mistake by any means, and the fact that Nat thinks it could have been avoided if Amy had shared, it originally shows that she, Nat, recognizes that what Julie did was meant to be destructive. Idest, she's saying Julie only ruined the doll because she'd been told she could not play with it. Honestly, I'd be setting boundaries around spending any time with Nat or Julie. Minimally, they should not be invited into your home, and the girls should not be forced to be friendly until Julie shows capacity to have basic courtesy and reasonable 6-year-old behavior. Additional information from OP's comments. Amy usually shares everything. Earlier this month, my older son accidentally broke one of his toys, and Amy got very protective of her own. She had a playdate with another cousin weeks ago and refused to share any toys at all. We've been trying to teach her to share again while still being careful, but I told her it was okay for Mirabel and some other favorites to remain off limits. We didn't give Julie the painted doll, we still have it. They left quickly after the incident, and we haven't seen Nat in person since. Thanks for the suggestion on how to remove the nail polish, but my main concern was that she'd painted on top of the doll's face paint, so even if we could remove the nail polish using rubbing alcohol or something like that, we might remove the original paint as well, which is why I asked for a replacement doll. Also, Nat's husband mentioned he grounded Julie. He took her tablet for a few days. He was out of town when it happened. I don't blame him at all. Okay, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that OP should kind of cut this part of the family out. OP is kind of on the other side of that, and she doesn't think that Julie did this out of maliciousness. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't think she should have them over, not until Nat apologizes. And you shouldn't underestimate a kid. Kids are raw emotion, and they can be bad if they want to. And I'm not even gonna comment on the 6-year-old having a tablet. But maybe I just did. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I wasn't going to write an update, but I thought I'd let you know that I read your comments and decided to follow your advice. I still don't think Julie's actions were completely intentional. The nail polish that she is used to is the kind that peels off, so I do believe she genuinely thought we could wash the doll later. Even if that's not the case, I wouldn't villainize a 6-year-old. Yes, I know children can be cruel, but they're still kids, and I'm not saying Julie's too young to understand she was doing something wrong. I just don't think the reasons behind her actions were as vindictive as people are making them out to be. It's always been clear to me that this was a parenting problem, not just Julie deciding to destroy Amy's toys. Nat's mutual apology and hug it out logic was the main reason the adult part of the problem even started. Absolutely agree with that. So if I had to blame anyone, it would be Nat, especially because not only did she protest against Julie apologizing to Amy, but she also never apologized herself. All that said, there are 2 pieces of advice from the comments on my previous post that I decided to follow. The first is that Nat and Julie are no longer welcome at our house. We're not cutting ties with them, as we usually all get along well. Also, we're immigrants, and they're some of the only relatives we have in this country, and that's not something we want to sacrifice right now. So from now on, we're only meeting them at their house, public spaces, and events we're not hosting. That might change in the future, either when Julie gets older or if we ever sense a change in their behavior. Also, my son's 9th birthday party is coming up, and we made it clear Nat and Julie aren't welcome. We did invite Nat's stepdaughter, her husband's child from a previous relationship, since she's friends with my son. Nat's not happy about this, but we don't care. The second piece of advice I'm following, during the weekend, my husband and I bought a big wooden box, which we'll leave in our closet. Whenever we have guests over, our kids can fill it with whatever toys they don't want to share. We all painted and decorated the box with stickers and ribbons on Sunday. As for the painted doll, Amy has seen Toy Story a few times, so she didn't want to throw her original Maribel away or give her to someone else. And in case you're wondering, it was the part in Toy Story 3 that told the evil bear's backstory. She didn't want nail polish Maribel to feel like she was being replaced. That part made her cry the most. So we gave the doll a bath, and though we couldn't get the nail polish off, Amy decided to keep her. So now she has 2 dolls. Maribel, given to her by Nat's husband, and Crazy Belle, her older twin sister. Tea parties have been interesting lately. Finally, mother-in-law still lives in our home country and was visiting us when this happened. She's already left, and we probably won't see her again until July, so whatever she thinks we should or should not do is totally irrelevant. I think that's all. Amy is happy and my family is doing great. Thanks everybody! Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a happy update. Like you said, Amy's happy, you guys are okay, that's great. Whatever Nat's problem is, she needs to solve it. That's her problem. So on that note, here's wishing you all the best in the future. Thanks for sharing, OP, and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.